Welcome to Movie Recap, a channel dedicated to those addicted to movies. Our focus is to showcase the best recap of your favorite flick. Sit back, grab your popcorn, and get ready to be amazed by the Mandela Effect 2019 movie recap. Brendan goes to the beach with his wife Claire and their daughter Sam. They had a great time together, and after a brief nap, Sam tells them that she will go to seek out shells with her Curious George toy, promising not to get into the water. Spoiler ahead, watch out. However, when Sam becomes preoccupied with the shells, the waves beat the monkey away, forcing her to enter the water to get it back. Unfortunately, the water is too strong, and the girl is unable to save herself from the waves. Every attendee of the funeral tries to comfort the parents of the kid, but they are still in a huge shock. Claire still believes this isn't real, and Brendan is struggling to function while crying in his daughter's room. They are unable to forget their daughter's memories. A few months later, Claire thinks it's time to make the move and begins packing Sam's room. Brendan, on the other hand, is not ready yet, and he instantly freaks out, asking his wife to put all that in its correct place. When he grabs his daughter's favorite books, he finds that the title Berenstain Bears is written with an A, but instead, it should be an E. Later that night, Brendan has trouble falling asleep and hears something strange. He prepares himself and gets out into the kitchen with the equipment. However, it turns out that Matt, his brother-in-law, has discovered something inside the fridge. Brendan questions Matt about the book's title. Matt also believes it was written with E. He looks for a clarification on the internet and then discovers more about it. Many individuals have the same memory as him and believe it is a conspiracy, but Brendan finally discovers the Mandela Effect, a phenomenon in which an abundance of people share false memories. They typically blame it on different timelines or alternative universes. The next morning, as Claire prepares to return to her daily work, Brendan finds a family photo on their refrigerator. When Brendan questions about the photo, Claire reveals that it was taken at the Griffith Observatory. Brendan, on the other hand, recalls capturing the same image at the Pacific Science Center. Claire believes he is simply confused and continues on to work. Brendan then shows Matt what he's discovered regarding the Mandela Effect. Brendan is reassured they are traveling between alternative realities or participating in a simulation, but Matt does not believe him. Brendan delves more into the phenomenon throughout the course of the next few days, watching numerous sources of information on topics such as string theory. Confused in every aspect of life, Brendan goes to see a priest one afternoon and asks why God would take the life of a youngster like Sam. The priest states that Sam's death was not the Lord's plan or desire, but rather a result of free will. Yeah, that's correct. The next best thing to research is free will. Brendan returns home and starts looking into free will as part of his focus. Brendan returns to Matt and continues to discuss more about the matter. However, after hearing the priest's comments, Brendan no longer believes that God created the world. Matt describes how he spoke with a buddy who is a neurologist, and she emphasized that our brains aren't flawless. Thoughts get confused, and there are numerous spaces that are filled with external information. Brendan, on the other hand, refuses to accept the possibility that it is simply coincidence. While having dinner, Claire asks his husband about the issue and tries to help him solve his problem. Claire, noticing Brendan's odd actions, attempts to encourage him not to concentrate on past experiences with Sam. She wants Brendan to move on from his past and start fresh. On the other hand, Brendan asks her to describe the Monopoly Man, and Claire says he wears a monocle. However, when Claire investigates the game box, she notices the little man has nothing on his face. Brendan then pulls out Sam's Curious George book, claiming that the usual monkeys in the images and Sam's plushie also possessed a tail, but the curious monkey in Sam's book didn't have a tail. The funeral even didn't feel real. When he mentions reality shifting, Claire reacts in anger and criticizes Brendan for refusing to continue on and concentrating his sadness on the stupid worry. Later, they leave for dinner, but with no interest in any of the ongoing discussions, decide to end up at the bar. But Matt explains to Brendan that Claire and Brendan should share their ideas together in order to manage their unbearable feelings about losing their daughter. Nonetheless, Brendan is sure that the Mandela Effect occurs. Brendan then investigates the theory further. He learns that the Mandela Effect could emerge as a result of other parallel worlds getting blended with the one he is presently living in. There are multiple parallel universes, each with its own version of the current life story. He believes Sam is still living in another parallel universe. He goes through many videos and documents on his path to the success of his plan, but he fails multiple times. However, with a huge investigation and research, finally, he discovers the name of Dr. Roland Fuchs, who believes that this world is a simulator and appears to be working on a method for demonstrating the simulation's accuracy. However, the video he discovers on websites is no longer working. Therefore, he uses many methods to download the file. He has downloaded a corrupted file, but he is able to rectify it using special software. The video depicts Dr. Fuchs giving a lecture on simulation theory, but not able to watch the whole video, leaving Brendan with absolutely nothing. Brendan refuses to give up recording a video message for him. Brendan waits a few days and never receives his return from Fuchs, so he goes to the university to speak with the doctor in person. Brendan then attempts to see Dr. Roland, but he is too busy at the moment. Brendan makes another attempt to meet him the following day. Fuchs argues that the Mandela effect is simply an instance of fake memories, but he also believes that their footprints were left by the simulation we live in, which glitched following a system update. Brendan compares it to video games, which only load a region when the player enters there. Normally, those places aren't even there. So, instead of manipulating the simulation, he should overload it to overwhelm the processor. Only a highly powerful machine could accomplish such a task. And Fuchs discloses that the university possesses a quantum computer. They enter the lab together, but Dr. Manning interrupts Brendan's presence at the university. The two immediately return to the doctor's house, where Fuchs explains that ideas are dangerous things. Later that night, Brendan has a dream about Sam's death and awakens when he hears her daughter calling him. He attempts to head out for a drive to clear his mind. He ultimately falls asleep in the car and then wakes up in a random place. He immediately hears a terrible high-pitched voice and explodes in pain, only for him to blink and wake himself up in his usual bed. Brendan is shocked by a number of events. He sees his daughter in her room and his wife trying to wash her daughter, and all of a sudden disappears. With all in mind, he goes to the library to get a number of books on quantum computing and begins writing code that might overwhelm the simulation, and spends an immense amount of time coding the necessary instructions. It has had an unfavorable effect on Brendan's marriage and everyday life. He also starts to experience images of Sam, which no one else immediately notices, until one day, she appears to be impossibly alive and is visible to all. All of a sudden, one night, Sam shows up in her parents' bedroom and gets into their bed after having a nightmare. Brendan wakes up in the morning with an empty bed. Brendan rushes downstairs, assuming it might have been a dream. However, Sam is still there as though nothing occurred. Everybody acts normal, and Brendan is shocked to see all these occurrences. Nobody remembers Sam's death. Brendan believes the simulation returned his daughter. The family spends time together extremely happily. However, in a few scenes, his wife acts aggressively. So, worried that the reality shift is making his wife uneasy, Brendan asks Matt to watch Sam and rushes to Fuchs's house, only to be greeted by the doctor's wife. She explains that he suicided 2 months ago, but he has met the doctor 2 days ago. Brendan goes home and resumes work on the code, preparing to set things right. When the code is finally complete, Brendan visits the university and attempts to access the quantum computer in order to run the code, but is stopped by Manning, who attempts to contact security. Brendan rushes on him to prevent him. However, he pushes too strongly, causing Manning to crash his head on the hard surface and die. Brendan then grabs Manning's card key and proceeds. He inserts his code into the computer. Then the machine begins to emit strange noises. He runs out of the university and realizes that the parking area is empty and his automobile is gone. In the blink of an eye, he's on a bus, and Claire calls to say she's not feeling well. At this point, he detects a passenger and everything around him glitching. Brendan gets off the bus and runs throughout the city, discovering numerous errors. Brendan ultimately comes home and hurries to pull his wife and kid tight. The universe reboots itself from the beginning of time, including dinosaurs, destroyed civilizations, evolutions, and other major occurrences in the history of humanity. When the reboot ultimately ends, Brendan feels fortunate to be back on the beach along with his family. Restarting the simulation, the universe's history is recreated. This is the time to make everything perfect and make the ending happy. As earlier, when Sam suggests going to find shells, Brendan orders her to leave her soft toy named George before leaving, safeguarding her life. By doing this, Sam is spared death, and the simulation is able to carry on after the initial incident that caused the discovery and crash. This is the end of the movie. We really hope you enjoyed today's recap of the movie The Mandela Effect 2019. Please leave a comment below on what you loved about the movie and why. Be sure to like the video, and please don't forget to support our channel by subscribing so you don't miss any amazing content. Until next time, light, camera, action. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.